What up, Triple H family? It is Coach Eric Freedom here, and I have a very special guest here today. It is not my coach Aaron, it is his wife, Joyce. And we have some things in common. She is a Taiwanese American as well, second generation. And we have a lot of things in common. She is also a coach. She focuses on on women and coaching, nutrition, and fitness. And we're just gonna get to know her a little bit. She's got a really cool story that I'm gonna kind of dive into. And so tune in, guys, and enjoy. Hi.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. Hi, Joyce. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Can't complain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to our podcast. Welcome. And, the first question I just want to open on is, what is the mission that you're on right now in this season of life, and how did we get here?
That is a very big question.
Yeah.
Right now, mission of life.
Sure.
Life.
Yeah.
Well, for me personally, right now, I'm trying to be the healthiest version that I can be. And that's like all encompassing. So like health as in like physical body, mind, soul. So everything that I'm doing right now, it's for that version of me. And it's actually a very different version that I'm pursuing right now than I have been for the past, I don't know, ever since I've been on some sort of fitness journey. Because once I first started fitness in 2016, like around there. That's when I first started anything
how old
fitness.
were you at that time?
Actually, no, I take that back because how old was I during that time?
How old are you today?
I'm 29.
29.
So do the math.
Minus 8 years.
8 years, yeah. That's when I would say I started taking my health more seriously.
Yeah.
But if I were to backtrack, I essentially just a quick, brief view of my upbringing. Essentially, from like a fitness and health standpoint, it was just very Asian culture and typical Asian, where girls are just quiet and you don't do the heavy lifting. Like men do the heavy lifting, and then girls are there to look pretty.
Sure.
And so a lot of my upbringing was like that, where I would try to be like the smallest version of myself and try to I would starve myself in order to look a certain way. And so, I developed a lot of really bad eating patterns and habits until I got into college. Actually, even in college, because for me, I was still pursuing that. So in high school, I would run obsessively, and because that was the only thing I knew how to do, I'm like, okay, well, if I'm fat, which I was never really overweight or anything, but culturally, there was that pressure put on me. And so in high school, the only thing I knew how to do was run, and also because we're not supposed to lift heavy, so I would just run.
Where did you hear that from?
My mom is probably one of the biggest influences
of you not lifting heavy.
Of not lifting heavy, yeah. Because she would always tell us that only men lift heavy, women don't lift heavy. And then also, like those magazines with like the bodybuilders who like actually take stuff. Like she would see that and she's like, you don't want to lift because that's how you're going to look. And I literally believed that, growing up. And so it's like I couldn't do anything, but then she'd be like, oh, you're having too many snacks, or you're eating too much, so you got to lose weight. And then you have other factors playing into that, where I had a relationship in high school. The guy was telling me like, oh, you're not that skinny, or it's like little things like that that made me feel like I needed to do something about it. So I ran obsessively, all the way till I like hurt my knee, minorly, but enough where I kind of took a step back. And this was in college, where I was like, wait a second. There's something wrong here. Yeah. And then also during that time, as I was getting more involved in the church, there was this idea of like, what are you idolizing? Or like, what are you putting at the forefront of your mind, so much so that you're willing to sacrifice for it? And for me, that was my body image, and running was a huge part of it. So in that time, I decided to cut it out cold turkey. But then just couldn't, not run, because I was like, this is too obsessive. Like it's to the point where I'm hurting myself because I'm doing this for this pursuit.
I've got stories I'll share with you about that.
Oh, yeah.
Personal ones as well later.
Oh, yeah.
I want to hear
Feel
yours
free.
though. Yeah.
But so from there, it was also that during that season, I also had this conviction where it was this realization, I would say, that if I'm actually not healthy, I can't help people. I can't do anything, right? It's like I would actually be the person who's standing on the sideline, right? It's like actually throughout even like high school, my friends would actually make fun of me for being super weak, right? So it's like, oh, Joyce can't carry that because she's too weak, right? And it's funny because when I look back on those years, I'm like, wow, like once upon a time, I was known and laughed at because I was weak, and I kind of just embraced it because I'm like, yeah, okay, that's who I am. Yeah. And like flash forward to today, I'm like, nobody would ever imagine that that's who I was. And like in that time, especially being involved in the church, it was a lot of, well, I want to help like put the chairs away, you know, like little things where set up breakdown. And so I realized that in order to be helpful and help other people and contribute, I need to be strong. Yeah. And so that's actually, that was in perfect timing with when a friend just asked me, oh, hey, you want to come to the gym with me? And so I just ended up going to the gym. He showed me the basics of like power. It was like a power building program. So the main lifts and some accessories.
How old were you at this time?
I was 20, I want to say.
Okay.
20, yeah.
This is post high school.
This was in college, yeah. Cool. This is towards the end of college. And then after that, I found CrossFit because I'm a very, like if I get into something, I'm going all in kind of person. So when I got into lifting and I fell in love with it, I like went all in. And then I got to the point where I was like, well, I don't know anything really about this. And in order to take myself to the next step, right? It's like I hit like one plate on my back squat and like a plate on my deadlift. You know, it's like I hit these like numbers that I couldn't pass, and in order to pass that I needed to find a coach. And so I actually, once I started working, I found a coach, and that coach, I just happened to stumble into CrossFit because of him, because he was a CrossFit coach, and I really had no idea what I was looking for when I was looking for a coach, but I was just lucky and like blessed that I found him. He introduced me to CrossFit, fell in love with it. I ended up, this could be a whole nother conversation, but completely just changing my career path. And just going like 100% into the fitness industry and pursuing that. And when I fell in love with CrossFit, I also decided I want to go all in. So I not only coach CrossFit, but I did CrossFit and I wanted to compete in CrossFit. And I remember telling God that I would dedicate 7 years of my life to this CrossFit pursuit. Wow. And that was...
And this is at 21?
21. Yeah. So 7 years would have been when I turned 28, which was last year. And
wow.
Yeah, like crazy thing with that is just that's when I started. Well, I think I heard, was it Camille LeBlanc who like someone like her said that it took her 7 years to get to where she was. And I just remember hearing that. Like 7 years took someone 7 years to get.
Athlete?
It was a games athlete.
So your first games?
Wait, sorry, what?
To their first games, qualifying.
Yes. It took them 7 years of their pursuit, and so I was like, I can commit 7 years. At like 21, I was like, 7 years, yeah, I could do that. So then I decided to commit.
On who I think that is right now. I'm like, okay.
That's who I think. I don't. Yeah. You could check, but anyway, yeah. So 7 years would have been last year, and so actually, that's when I started having a lot of like convictions in my own personal faith, where I felt like I was battling with, am I putting this above God? Right? Am I putting my CrossFit and my competition pursuit above God? And so a huge part of me stepping away from competing in CrossFit was because I felt like I need to pursue something new now. Like there's a new calling.
Did it become your running?
It became my running.
Ayo.
Yes. Yeah. That's a good point. But it was interesting because when I look back on it, Aaron actually brought this up the other day. He was like, that was 7 years, wasn't it? And I was like, oh my gosh, you're right. Yeah. I told God 7 years, and that 7th year, like I started like all these thoughts or even like body pains that I was randomly, like I never dealt with, randomly started dealing with. And and the doubt that I started thinking like, is this really for me? All that set in and the timeline that I had told God without me even thinking about it. So that's what, then I decided to embark on this journey. It took a little while because I did like a side quest and I was like, I can't give up competing. I'm going to do a triathlon because
that's what that was about. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And so, and then now I'm finally fully embracing it and fully being like, this is my season. This is where I'm at. And I am excited for it. I'm finally at the point where I'm really excited for this. Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot. And then the context in which I know you is because you were we were trying to send a team to semis.
Yes.
And you were on a team with Luke, Drew, and Kara.
Yeah.
And then that's how I met Aaron because you were doing a workout and Aaron came in.
Yeah.
And then that's how he became my coach. Actually, ironically, a few months later after the Open. So what a small world. There are a few things that you were sharing about, and I think I'm just really curious about your journey. And I think a lot of women would have kind of these same questions. And honestly, this is for you, Harper. This is for my daughter. I have an 8-year-old and I have a 2-year-old. Both I have a 8, 6, and 2-year-old. My girls are 8 and 2, and it's interesting hearing she's in 2nd grade, and I already see her doing a lot of comparison already, and mentioning I don't look pretty when I wear this. And it's interesting because like we never talk about her looks. We never mention you look pretty, actually I tell her she's beautiful all the time, right? But it's not because of what she's wearing. I just look at her like I'm a father, so like when I look at her, I'll look at her and I'll say, wow, like Harper, you're so beautiful.
Yeah.
And you know, it's crazy because she used to just kind of receive it, and as she gets older, I notice she's like, I don't know, Daddy, I look like you, so does that mean you're beautiful? And I'm like, well, I mean, you're like a better looking version of me, but you know, I'm seeing this, and I think it happens younger and younger, and she doesn't have a phone, she doesn't have social media, any of that stuff yet. But you mentioned that you starved yourself. And I know that's, you know, that kind of triggered something in me when I thought through like my middle school years. I remember a lot of my female friends were starving themselves. When was the first time that you had that thought of like, that's something that, like, did you actually starve yourself? Like, so when was the first time you actually had the thought of like, oh, I need to like eat less and like actually starve myself? And then were you actually starving yourself? Like, what was that process like, and how old were you?
I was actually in high school.
Okay.
I was never like, I need to starve myself, but I would just actively eat less at that time, because that's what was told to me. Like, if you want to lose weight, you just eat less. And so I started just eating less.
And so how old were you? Like 14? Like freshman, sophomore?
Maybe a little bit older, because I actually didn't care that much. I would just go, if friends were eating, I would eat, you know, kind of thing, until I feel like, I'm trying to think. I think those comments started getting to me a little bit later, so maybe 16, around 16.
Okay. Driver's license age, okay.
Yeah.
So around 16, it sounds like you're starting to internalize stuff that you're hearing. And are those voices friends, or is it mostly your mom, or like where was that coming from?
Both, yeah. A lot of it was actually my mom. And I know, I mean, now I know I like held a lot of resentment towards her for a really long time, but now I'm realizing she didn't know any better, you know. And it's a little side note. It's super cool to see my mom being open to what I do now, and seeing her being interested in fitness and health because she sees me doing that, and she had no idea what that would look like. So I know during that time she didn't have any ill intentions. It was just, I want my daughter to look good, because that's, you know, it's so important for culture. So a lot of the comments were from her. And then some of the comments were from the guys that I was interested in, right? Where if so during that time frame, I was dating a guy, and he was the guy who would tell me like, oh, you're not that pretty. Oh, you're not that. Yeah, I was dating him. He would tell me, oh, you're not the prettiest girl there is. And yeah, why was I still with him? I don't know. But
Bruh.
but it's like being in that kind of environment, and then also having all these like side comments. That's when I started like, I need to do something about it, because my mom's saying that it's because I'm not skinny enough, and he's already saying like I'm not the prettiest. So in order to get prettier, I have to do this, right? Yeah. And so then I would start running more. I would start eating less, and it was just eating less. And
was there even like an objective? Like what was that measure? Like how did you know what?
There was no measure. There was no measure. I just remember like I would just. If I had, it was just whatever we had. So it's not like we ate the most healthy. We would have like a granola bar, or like sometimes we would go to the snack bar during break time. And so I would even buy candy, right? Because it's just, this is what I want at the time. And so I would just eat like half of it, or like one piece, right? And then it was like throughout the day, I'll just have like a little piece. And then my friends would want to go out and eat, because driver license, everyone's, as they started getting their licenses, it was like, oh, let's go out and eat. So I would go out to eat with them, and then I would just eat a lot of food in one sitting, because it was cool, or I felt like that's how I could be a part of what they were doing. And then I would just turn around and then start running obsessively. And then in college, it became, because I was more in control of my food, then it became like, I remember having like a celery stick a day, like one celery stick for one day, and that was like, this is all I'm gonna eat. Yeah, this is all I'm gonna eat. I'm gonna eat celery. Well, like that would be like one day.
Bro.
One day I would eat celery sticks.
Bro.
And then the next day I would eat like one other thing. Or like I remember cutting up bell peppers into like small slices.
We used to have this member where like she did like the potato diet.
Oh.
And I was like, bro, are you seriously doing a potato a day?
Well, I mean, I believe it, because I was there, where I literally remember cutting like that bell pepper into like little tiny snack bites, so I can snack on it and eat less and just have that bell pepper. And then of course, then you somehow make it to the weekend only having like 500 to 700 calories a day, right? And then all of a sudden, it's like, well, I want everything. Yeah. Of course. And then all of a sudden it's like 5,000 calories all around me, and donuts, Doritos, and like whatever else I could get my hands on. And it was, I don't even know what like sparked the idea that I was actually doing it, because I just thought it was so normal, because I was told that if you just want to get skinnier, you eat less. And so I thought this is normal, right? And I didn't even have a thought that there was something not good or not correct about the way that I was eating until after college. I was living by myself, and I remember just stumbling across a video on YouTube that was talking about someone else's binge eating journey. And then I remember just thinking, wait, I do this. And I had no idea what it was until I saw that video. And then from there, it was just this long, grueling journey to come out of that. Yeah.
What would you tell yourself now? I mean, if you're a decade removed from that, what do you wish you knew?
When I was in that phase, I wish I knew and truly believed that I was fine just the way I was. That I didn't have to be anything or be prettier or whatever to get other people to like me. If I had been secure in how I was, then I wouldn't have done any of that.
Do you think there's anything that anybody could have said that would change your mind to combat that, or that's something that you had to go through?
Well, I believe that's something I had to go through, and I'm very thankful that I went through that, because I'm here on the other side, and I see so many people going through it, and I can sit here and be like, there's hope. Yeah. You can do this, right? And so I wouldn't change any of it for anything. But I do think, in that moment, let's say I was in a relationship and the guy was actually like, you're beautiful. I love you the way you are, right? That would have changed. You would have never met Aaron. I would have see, that's true too. I wouldn't change anything, because my story is orchestrated the way it was supposed to be orchestrated. But if that happened, it would have changed something, right? Or even if my parents were to be able to call that out in me, or if they taught me how to actually fuel my body. These are all things that I had to learn in the future, like when I was going through the journey by myself. But if they had actually taught me that, then it would have saved me all of that whole journey. But here we are.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. You mentioned that you were you went through a career change, right? So let's reverse again. I mean, let's continue from high school. So you're going through that. You went to college. Where was that?
Where did I go to college?
Yeah.
UC Berkeley.
Okay, so you're from Covina.
Yes.
You're from Covina. So for those that don't know, that's in Singapore Valley. You went from Covina, which is like suburbs. Where'd you go to high school? Covina High School? Sunny Hills?
South Hills.
South Hills.
So West Covina.
West
but
Covina.
yeah.
Okay, so you went to South Hills. Is that the high school at Better Luck Tomorrow?
What?
Is that Better Luck Tomorrow?
I don't.
Okay, there's a
I don't
movie
think
made
so.
about the high school that there's like SAT scandal and like all this stuff.
Oh no, I don't think that
I
was
think that's
us.
Sunny Hills.
Yeah,
Is there
that-
Sunny Hills?
yeah, there is.
Okay, I
Yeah.
think that's Sunny Hills. MTV made a whole documentary about it.
I believe it.
It's like a cheating scandal.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's actually someone got killed. Crazy.
Okay, that's
You gotta look it
crazy.
up. It's like an early.
I believe
early,
it, though.
Early 2000s movie.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was like Asian gang, all this stuff. So you go to high school, you go to Berkeley, you transfer to, or you apply to Berkeley, you go, and you go through school. What do you study?
I was studying law.
You're studying law.
Yes.
And then the plan was to become a lawyer.
Plan was to become
Okay.
a lawyer.
Okay. And let's just continue from there.
Okay.
Let's go from there. Yeah.
So, how did I get there? Or?
Yeah. So you go to, you study law, and then you finish a 4-year
Okay.
degree. What happens next?
Oh, well, see, I wanted to do law ever since I was in the 8th grade. And it was one of those things where I just decided I was going to do law. And because I decided I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And so from there, everything was like, do mock trial, did debate, did
Special
all these
debate,
little
yeah.
things where it was like, okay, I'm going to make it to law school
Yeah,
or whatever.
yeah.
Get into UC Berkeley. I'm studying for law, and everything in college, literally everything was for law. So all of my like extracurriculars were doing some sort of legal clinic, or I got part-time job doing as a paralegal.
Sure.
And then every single time that I got a new job, I would convince myself that this is the new thing, right? Where I started my first job as a paralegal in an immigration law office.
Okay.
And I hated it. I did not like it at all. And it was actually really sad because the immigrants that we worked with, they were trying to get their citizenship somehow, or some sort of visa to stay here.
Yeah.
And they would just tell all these horrible stories that happened to them to get the government to see that they need to stay here.
Like asylum
And so-
or something, right?
Yeah, and so that was my first job, and then it was easier to get into there because immigrant parents, and like
Sure.
I'm passionate about this.
Sure.
I had my whole interview answered,
Yeah.
and then I hated it, so I decided to do something else. I did family law, I did employment law, I did like all these different laws until I finally, when I graduated, I found myself in a litigation law firm where that was like all they were doing. And I was sitting there just like, it's just grown adults dealing with 5-year-old problems. Like, this person stole this from me and now I'm going to sue them, right? And I was sitting there just like, what am I doing with my life? And I remember the day where the one of the lawyers that I was working closely with came into my office and was like, oh, so why are you here? And I gave him my whole interview answer. And then right when he left, that was the moment I realized I just lied.
Dang,
I
you're-
just lied
you're
to him.
faking.
Yeah. And I was like, I'm not just lying to him, I'm lying to myself. And it was that moment where I was like, I said all of these things and I didn't feel anything. And I was like, this is not how I want to live my life.
Yeah.
And at that time, I had already gotten into the fitness industry in the sense that I was just passionate about it, right? And then I was interested
were you
in
coaching?
no, not yet, but I was interested in starting something like that. And so I had been thinking about doing something on the side. But in that moment, I was like, why do half foot in, half foot out if I could just go all the way in, you know? And then the other thought was, if not now, then when, right? It's like all these people saying, yo, you could just do it later. You could just do it. It's always there. But I'm like, but if I can do it now, like, why not do it now and not have the regret and look back and be like, I tried it,
and
right?
This is while you're in school.
This was after
school.
Before I went, I had everything ready to go to law school.
Before you applied for grad school.
Oh, thank God. Yeah.
Before you took the LSAT.
No, I took it already.
Oh,
I had
you already
everything.
took the LSAT.
I had everything set. I could have just applied to any. I could have applied right then and there if I wanted to.
Yeah.
But I decided to work for a year. And in that year, I think that was just the grace of God, because if I had gone into law school, then that's a whole nother commitment.
It's hard to jump out.
Exactly.
Feel bad.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I was ready. Like, everything was ready to just go apply to law school, get into a good law school, and I'm set. And then from that moment, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna pivot. So I got some certification. I did the NASM. Sure. So I did that.
NASM,
and I
CPT.
Yes, and I just went into it and figured it out from there.
Wow.
And
Wow. And do you think you would have ever known, because you got a coach?
Yes.
And do you think you would have wanted to go in that direction if you didn't have a coach?
I don't know. That's a good question. I do think he influenced me because I genuinely enjoyed working with him. Yeah. And I remember feeling like he was one of the first people who believed in me. And even though he didn't have the skill set to take me further in my competition journey, I'm very thankful for him in getting me through the door and having that initial belief. Because even when I decided to make the jump into the fitness, like go 100% into the fitness industry, I remember his colleagues giving him side comments like, oh, did you tell her that, like, this is not where the money's going to be made? And, like, you know, like little side comments like that. And he would always just tell me, like, you can do it. You know, it's like, I know you can. Like, you're competent, right? And so I definitely think he influenced that and gave me the confidence to keep going, especially when
that's crazy. His colleagues,
hard.
as in like other trainers, said
other
that.
trainers, yeah.
Do you know the fail rate in our industry?
Probably pretty high.
Yeah, it's like 90%.
Yeah, okay. I don't doubt it.
9 out of 10 trainers will quit. I don't have the exact year. I think for sure within a decade.
Okay.
9 out of 10 will not. So like, kind of crazy to say, but it's like, think about 10 trainers that you know. Yeah. 10 of us won't be coaches in a decade.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, 9 of us won't be coaches in a decade. And then I know that it's even higher within. So it's like if you are within the first, let's say, year of someone, just look at personal trainers at a global gym or something like that. It's like the majority will not, like within 6 months, won't even be doing it again.
Yeah, I believe it.
Because it's just like such a low barrier of entry, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, go get a cert. Like, you know, you went and got a cert, and then it's like, oh, like a lot of people are like, oh, you know what? I have nice body. Like, I'm gonna go do this, right? So, yeah, that's crazy. So you that was 21.
How old was I?
20, when you decided 21? To make that shift.
Yeah.
So you're 21. You're 20. So you've been at this for 8 years.
graduated. Yeah, I graduated when I was 20, and then I was working at 21. Yeah.
Yeah, and you just went all into becoming a trainer.
Yeah.
Wow, and that's how you met Aaron.
And eventually. So because I went in just trying to do one-on-ones first, and then his gym, actually, a little fun story. His gym, the CrossFit gym that he was at, they had an internship. And so I had a friend, because I was just doing my CrossFit at like a Globo gym. I was at 24-hour fitness. Okay. And I had
Me too.
Oh,
that's how
cool.
I started.
Yeah. Well, it has like the functional equipment area.
When I started,
probably
it did
not
have
when
that.
you,
Yes.
But when I was there, they, especially the ones that were a little more upscale, they had already started shifting out areas. Yeah. And so I would go so regularly at like 5 a.m. in the morning that like the little group of us that went at 5 a.m., we kind of became a little group, right? Cool. And one of the friends that I made through there was a member at Aaron's gym. And so he was like, oh, you're shifting into this fitness space and you're trying to do one-on-ones, but hey, there's this opportunity where this gym that I'm at is doing an internship. You should apply. So I just applied. And then I was the only one who wasn't a member at their gym that they took on in the internship. And actually how I met Aaron was I was shadowing him, and he was the coach that I was shadowing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What gym is this?
Marvelous Performance.
Shout out to Marvelous Performance.
Yeah.
There we go.
They shut down during
Oh,
COVID.
no,
I
they're
know.
gone?
They are.
Oh, no. I just shouted out gym.
No, it's okay. It exists in the members' hearts.
Okay.
So they will appreciate the shout out.
Well, shout out to Marvelous Fitness.
Marvelous Performance.
Marvelous Performance. Shout out to Marvelous Performance. Oh man, that's so sad. Another
Yeah, that was a crazy story.
As a gym owner founder like that, whenever I hear those stories, it's like it's really painful, because it's like I know the battle of like the business side of it, and that's why that's why the guy said to you or said to your coach, like, oh, like tell her the truth, right? And it's really hard to make it in this industry. So okay, so you guys have been at it for 8 years now. You guys own a company together. Okay, so I'm getting the backstory of how you guys met.
Yeah.
It was because he was your like apprentice.
I was
coach.
his apprentice.
Yeah, what a sicko, Aaron. Okay, so he's like the coach that you were kind of under, and then that's how you guys met. Like, that's literally it. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Cool.
That's it.
Right on. You guys been married for how long now?
Oh gosh, 2021. We're supposed to get married during COVID.
Pandemic. Okay.
Yeah.
You guys are a pandemic couple. Okay.
Yeah. So we signed papers 2021.
Wow.
So almost 4 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you guys like planning to be married before that, but COVID like pushed it, or?
Well, so we knew, we had intel that Monday, March 15th, the whole because we were living in San Francisco at that time.
Yes.
So San Francisco was going to shut everything down. And
Okay.
he was like, I'm not about to propose to her in our freaking apartment. So the day, Pi Day, actually, we were with a whole group of friends, and that's when he proposed, because he was like, if not now, then it's going to be in our freaking apartment during the pandemic. And so
dang.
So we knew we were going to get married, but like the proposal happened because, of the pandemic. And then we wanted to get married that year, but then because everything was still shut down, we pushed back, but we ended up deciding it's easier to just go sign papers to actually be officially married, and then we had vow renewals later.
It's kind of like Luke's story.
Oh, okay.
Wow. And you guys met what year?
We met 2018.
Okay, so you dated for like 2 years.
We dated actually
No, like
1 year.
Because you guys just knew each other for a while.
Yeah.
He was grooming you slowly.
He knew.
He was slowly grooming you.
Yeah. We both, I hated that before I met him. I hated it when people were like, when you know, but now I'm like, when you know, you know.
When you know, you know. Wow. You guys are outside of, so I don't know that many like, sorry for the label I'm going to give you right now. I don't know that many like fit couples.
Okay.
Okay.
It's a good label.
So like Tim and Beth are Tim used to be a coach on our staff.
Okay.
He retired last year, 2 years ago. Were you on staff when Tim was on staff? Okay, so dude, I can't remember, bro. It's been years, man. So Tim and Beth, they came on as interns in like 2014. With us for a decade. Beth is on Josh's team now for physio, Reason Physio. They're like one of the only fit couples I know. The fit couples are very rare to me, and it's even more rare when you have a fit couple that is like they're not both trainers or like full-time coaches or something like that, right? So they would, to me, like they would already like check those boxes where Tim was like casual, Beth was casual, and then it's something they're both really into, but it's not their career.
Gotcha.
Right? So you guys kind of check that box a little bit more. What's it like in the context of your relationship? Like, how does that affect the way that you guys view health?
How does our relationship?
Yeah, how does that play into like? Well, I guess you would never know because you're not in a relationship outside of that. But like, how does? Yeah,
we have an idea, right, from previous
Yeah.
like dating relationships.
Like
It's totally different.
Yeah.
Like, I am so thankful for Aaron, because I know I'm also a very like I said, like if I'm going to do something, I'm going to go all into it, right? So especially when I was competing, it's not just I'm going to show up to the gym. Right? It's I'm going to show up to the gym, push hard. I'm going to eat a certain way, track all my food. I'm going to sleep. Yeah, it's like I'm sleeping at this time, waking up at this time, and like X, Y, like doing all of these things to maximize my performance. And I get very, very like obsessive about doing everything I can, especially because I'm like the kind of person where if I know that I need to do this to maximize my performance, why not do it? I need to do it. And so having him understand that and truly understand the reason behind why I need to do it and actually encourage me to do that and take on a lot of the load of, well, okay, I need to sleep. So making sure that if the dogs wake us up at a certain time, he'll just take the dogs out, right? Little things like that, because he truly understands. It's so much easier. But also, besides the competing aspect of it, just how we want to live our life and lifestyle-wise, it's so amazing to have someone where we're on the same page on this, and we both love it so much that we truly understand each other in it, right? And so that is very different than previous relationships, because I know in previous one of the relationships that I was in when I wanted to go into the fitness industry, or right before, he had told me, oh, you want to be an athlete? Okay, I hate people like that, or like very negative, just like, I can't believe you want to go into that, and it was just like, oh my gosh. And that was a whole nother thing that I was struggling with, because when he said that, we actually ended up breaking up. And when we broke up, I felt like, if I'm going to pursue this, and also my mom was like, if you're going to be an athlete, no guy is ever going to want to date you, And so when he broke up with me, coupled with that, I was like, I'm never going to do this ever again.
Dang.
Only to find out, you pursue what you love, and the right person will come. But anyway, so having had relationships that were not the right person, and like in my life was someone who didn't truly understand where I was, is completely different. And also, I would say it's the genuine belief, because Aaron was the first person who genuinely believed that I could compete and I can do something in CrossFit on like an elite competition level. And having someone tell you who truly understands fitness is totally different than someone who's not in fitness and saying, oh, I believe you can do it, right? It's like, they're cheering for you, but it's the genuine belief that when Aaron looked at me and was like, you can do it, I was like, I can do this. And it was because he believed in me that I was able to compete at a really high level. And so that, I would say, is a huge difference in not being with someone who truly understands this fitness lifestyle and being with someone who does.
How, in what other places have you seen that play out, like in your marriage, or
the belief, or even business, right? Because like you were saying, it's not just that we have this fitness love and love for the lifestyle, but we work and we train other people in it, right? So having someone who truly understands that it's the same, right? Where it's, you have these clients and you have these people that you're working with and who are entrusting themselves into your service, but then I have someone that can understand me from a coach standpoint, and we can share each other's burdens in a way that no one else really could. Because I hear stories, let's say, like I have a friend who's like a nurse, right? They're an ER nurse, right? It's a lot of load on them. They come home, they offload it. And I've heard stories of people being like, I want to understand, but I just can't understand because I'm not there. I'm not an ER nurse. I don't understand truly what she's going through. But for me, because I have someone who is doing essentially what I do, we understand each other. But also, because we're very different, we help each other and sharpen each other in ways that we otherwise couldn't. So I'm a very, if you couldn't tell, a very type A person.
I could tell.
Right? So very like everything.
We can tell. We can tell.
Thank you. I have every single day planned down to like the 30 minutes, right? So I'm very much like.
Wow, you're me. Okay.
Well, yeah. Like
mine's more gross. Mine's 10.
Actually, as a side note,
I think 10 minutes.
I think Aaron, actually, that's not gross. I would appreciate that. But but I think Aaron told me that your Myers-Briggs is my Myers-Briggs. So we have the same person.
INFJ?
INFJ, yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I understand you.
Whoa.
But he is completely opposite. He is ESFJ. So I'm actually only like 3% F. most of my time I function as a T, but then so a thinker. I'm very like logical in most things and methodical.
Yeah.
Thank you. But for him, he's very feeler. Right? He's like super feeler.
He's a feeler.
He's a feeler.
Yeah.
But he's also extroverted and sensing and very spontaneous. So when we work together, especially owning a business together,
we want to rip each other's heads off. Yeah.
Yes. I'm very much like, these are the due dates. These are all the tasks that we need to get done. And he's like, oh, I have all these tasks in my head that we need to get done and we'll get there. And I'm like, no, this is the timeline.
You know your Working Genius? Have you done Working Genius?
No.
Patrick Lissoni?
No.
He's the author of The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team.
Okay.
He also wrote The 6 Working Geniuses.
Oh, okay. No.
Okay. I can see that. I definitely see that dynamic in a relationship.
Yeah, but it helps, right? Because going back to, it's possible for me to be too strict on time, and it's possible for him to be too fluid, right? So it's two very different people coming together, both being able to do business by themselves, but coming together to bring both aspects and create a business.
What are the cons of your relationship situation? Reminds me so much of mine and my wife and I are like complete opposites.
Okay.
Except that we're both introverted, but
Okay.
she's like extreme introverted.
Oh,
so
okay,
like, and then I think I became introverted / slightly ambiverted because of the nature of owning a business and being a leader. And it's like you can't not talk to people.
Yeah.
You know,
I feel that.
You know what I'm saying? You have to do it.
Yeah.
So I developed like the skill of it, but then it's like I recharge by like, leave me alone, dog.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Or, like,
totally.
Like I literally like sink into books.
Oh,
I think
me too.
Like, books just recharge. We'll talk about books later.
Okay.
But books like recharge. Like, look at this. This is like, I think that's like
just a snippet, I'm sure.
1/10 of my library, which my wife hates. That she's like, why do you collect all the? I'm like, because I'm not gonna throw them away.
I
She's like, get a
wouldn't
Kindle, and I'm like,
No.
But then you can't touch it. You know?
Yes.
So on the Working Geniuses, it's widget. It's wonder, innovation, discernment, galvanization, enablement, and then tenacity is the last one, right? I'm on the higher end of this, so I'm not that one's better than the other, but I'm wonder and discernment. So I'm these two. So I can dream, hence the things I create, and then I have high level like advisory where I can like take in an idea and then like make a decision on it. My working frustrations are galvanization, which means getting people to do things, like especially when they don't like when I don't think they want to do it. It kills me. Like I'm not the cheerleader type. Like like that's why my coaching style. Like if I coach a group class, I can't fake. Like come on, try harder. Because if I sense that you don't want it, I'm like, you just chill, dog. Just like don't go like that. Like don't go that hard because like I know you don't want to. I can't create that gusto from nowhere. Also, my other working frustration is tenacity, which means like seeing projects to the end. Like I'm not a doer. I'll start things. So like if I want to cook my wife a meal, I'll do it. But then I'll also like, because right now it takes like, I know the bacon, it's got to take a while. You can't just go high, otherwise it'll burn. So while I'll do that, I'll go like, I heard the laundry machine beep. I'll start doing laundry. And she'll walk in the kitchen and be like, dude, the kitchen's going to be on fire because you went and started doing laundry. Then you decided to take a break to do this. And then now you're doing, and it's like, I have like 8 things going at once.
Interesting, yeah.
And she's like, dude, you don't finish anything you start. Right? And it's like, that's interesting. So I can kind of see that in your relationship. And it's like, but then there's also strengths to that.
Yeah, for sure.
So my follow-up question is, I guess, you guys both being health people, has there any places where that's hurt your, like, not been good for your relationship?
Us being health people?
Yeah, the health fit couple. Like, are there cons to it?
I don't know if I've ever thought about this. Are there cons to this?
Here for the deep questions.
Well, I don't know. I've always seen it as such a positive thing. I don't know if I've ever thought about if there's cons to it. Yeah, I don't know.
I think we have the answer there. I think everybody should pursue being a fit couple. I think that's the answer right there. Cool.
If I think of something, I'll drop it in the comments. Be like, hey.
you know, I could talk to you about a lot of other things, competition stuff, and I mean, I know that you obviously you're a woman, and I think as we kind of wrap up, there's a couple of things I want to ask you. Number one is like, what do you think are the biggest mistakes that women are making when it comes to nutrition and like health?
Nutrition specifically,
Yeah.
not eating enough. Most women are not eating enough. And I think a lot of it has to do with the diet culture, where a lot of women, because we want to look better or look a certain way, we think it's the same narrative, right? Just eat less, just eat less. And we're told that in diet culture too. If you're not in a deficit, or if you're not losing weight, you're not in a true deficit, right? Yep. And a lot of people kind of fall into that to their own detriment, because a lot of our body still needs fuel. Sure. To run and to function.
I mean, it's the correct deficit, right? It's the correct
deficit. Right? But also, if you've never been in a true maintenance, meaning you've never eaten consistently for a long period of time and know what your body needs to function, how do you know what a deficit is, right? And so many women are just trying to find a deficit, to the point where their body doesn't even know what the deficit is, and they're not able to make progress, and they're just burning themselves out. And then later down the line, they have all these hormonal issues. And we work with a lot of older women who, past menopause, their hormones are just whack. It's so crazy, but it's not necessarily anything that had to do with menopause. It's everything that had to do before menopause and all of the habits that they had before that. And a lot of these women, a theme is that they're trying to diet. And so for women, for nutrition, eat more. Be okay with fueling your body. And then for fitness, I guess, because I used to always say that women just need to lift heavier. Be okay with lifting heavier, right? And I feel like already there's less of a stigma against it, right? Less of if you lift heavy, you're going to be bulky. I feel like it still exists, because I still talk to women who believe that. Yeah. But I do feel like there's been so many steps forward to encourage women to lift. So that would have been my answer. I feel like it still kind of is. I'm still on that, where I want to encourage women to lift heavy and embrace that and know that you can lift heavy and have the body that you want. And arguably, in order to have the body you want, you got to lift heavy. So
I have a two-part question to kind of wrap up your personal journey before we rapid fire. Okay. But you're on the tail end of you're in your retirement years of you're competing now, right? Does that mean you're never going to compete in CrossFit again?
We'll never say never.
Okay.
I will never say never. Yeah.
All right.
Who knows?
What were the biggest lessons you learned during those years?
I've learned a lot of lessons.
Yeah, top 3, top 2.
One of them has to be, and I feel like this is very a big part of my own competition journey, is finding the right mentors. I very strongly believe in mentors, because, well, why go through something that someone else has already gone through if they could tell you not to go through it, right? And so, I mean, right from the get-go, right, when I wanted to do something more, I found a coach. And I feel like that was, just looking back, that was one of the best decisions I made for my competition season. But
was your coach a mentor or a coach? You know that
he was both, and I would say that, but a little bit more so because of the business side of things, right? Me going into the fitness industry, he very much helped me get on my feet. Sure. So in that way, yes. And then after that, I found so many different coaches, because for me, I'm a small athlete. And so I knew I had to get stronger in order to actually compete in fitness. So I took a side quest and went all into Olympic weightlifting for 2 years. And I found an Olympic weightlifting only coach. And then from there, I came back to CrossFit, but then had to go through so many different coaches. I went through a lot of coaches.
Were you doing Olympic lifting just to try to get better at lifting for CrossFit, or were you trying to compete?
I was trying to get
to Worlds?
Well, I was competing. I actually made it to nationals, and that was my goal. Was just
nice.
I'll make it to nationals. 55 kilos.
Oh, dang, that is small.
Yes, I'm small. Yeah. And so doing that, and then AO finals. So I did compete in Olympic weightlifting, but my main goal was I want to get strong so I can apply it to CrossFit. Sure. And then coming back to CrossFit, went through so many different coaches until I found Coach Sam. Shout out to Coach Sam, because he's so good at what he does, and he is very methodical in how he programs, and it works. And so all of that to say, one of the things that when I look back is get a coach and a mentor, because I feel like Coach Sam is both. And if you can't, if the person that you're working with doesn't work for you, it's okay to move on and find someone who does work for you.
That's a good one, yeah.
And I have learned that through just trial and error, right? And it's hard because you grow an attachment to one person, right? And I was like that with my first coach, because he poured so much into me. I didn't want to leave him, but from a competition standpoint, he couldn't, and he knows this. He told me this later on too. He couldn't get me to where I wanted to go from a competition standpoint. And it's hard to leave someone who's poured so much into you, but sometimes 100%. You need to in order to take that next step.
Oh,
so that's probably maybe the biggest lesson.
Good. I mean, as someone that mentors a lot of people, so it's interesting because my handles is like Coach Eric Freedom, but it's like calling yourself a mentor is like really weird. Right? But what I realized that what I do like for a living is I don't really coach. Like, so what I believe coaches do is coaches teach you a skill. Mentors change your life. Right? And so what I do is I do a lot of mentoring, and what I realized that, and this in my own experience too, because I think when I was younger it was harder to do it because I was coaching. But what true mentors do is mentors will fire themselves at the appropriate time. They will know when to exit themselves. I don't want to say out of your life, but out of that season. And then a true mentor will help you find the next one. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I think that's a secure one, right? Yeah. The ones that are like not there yet, they'll try to hold on to you because it's their own identity or whatever, right? So their own ego or whatever. But true mentors, true coaches will get you to where they feel like you should go, and they'll realize that the real good ones will either find the tools to get you to the next step, or they will be like, you know what, hey, I don't have them. Here's what the next 3 things you should do to find the next step, you know?
Agreed.
So
I love that. Yeah.
And I agree with that just because I didn't have any coaching, but I sought out coaching my entire life for multiple reasons, if you know my story. But that's a good word. I really enjoy that. And then the second part to that question is, you know, now that you're not a competitor, how do you maintain like a healthy mindset around your own fitness after stepping away from competition, right? Because there's being an athlete and maintaining whatever your health means during that season, and now that you're out of that, like, what does that look like for you now? Like, how do you maintain that, and what does health look like for you now?
Well, training is not that different in the sense that because I love CrossFit, I'm still very much training CrossFit methodology, and I still have all the skills in my program. It's more so of how hard I'm pushing myself and the intensity that I'm pushing myself in. Because when you're trying to compete, you kind of have to play with that threshold, right? Or the fine line between you're pushing and like leaving enough that you can recover and push hard again the next day. But now it's more of, well, I'm just trying to be the healthiest I can be, and I'm just trying to get enough that I'm still having the stimulus, but not so much that I'm not still in this healthiest state, right? And so a lot of that is really just like 75%, 80% workouts maybe, less of that like 90% really, really pushing yourself down to the ground kind of thing. And
has your total volume changed?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
So what was it before? What was it now?
Well, I would say I'm more of in like a long off-season style volume, because when I was in season, so when there's like a competition coming around the corner, right, and you're ramping up to that like the 3 to 4 months before, then volume starts to increase and increase and increase, right? And so a lot of that is just in the sheer amount of reps that you're doing, right? And now it's more of the off-season training where it's a lot more just like strength, skill. The conditioning will be there just to maintain, right? And so that's a lot of what it is now, is just maintenance. And I will say also a lot of the mental part of things, like there isn't that pressure of I have to perform. If I don't feel great that day, then this is what I have, this is what I have. And it's actually been very freeing once I've embraced it. It took me a little while.
I was going to ask, how long did it take you to, because it's hard to turn that off because you're used to, like, I don't, like for me, my athlete has been, my body forced me to stop because my back, right? But from a life, I'm still learning how to like, I'll be honest, like I live like I'm broke. Like my mentality is like I'm still stuck on like I'm 23 years old. I can barely afford to eat. Like my wife and I are barely getting, like that's the, like I live in that mindset, and like I've never really truly escaped it. And I still, there's moments where I'm like, Matthew 6:24 is real. Like I shouldn't have to worry. The birds are fed, I'm fed, like everything's good. But it's hard to like fully ever be there. And I have strong moments and seasons, and it's like it's hard to like. That's a whole nother conversation, but you get what I'm saying, right? So
I mean, I'm a
shift out of
competitor,
that?
right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I will say that you never truly, or I haven't truly like, oh, I'm not competitive anymore.
Yeah,
I'm still competitive. If you
Yeah.
go head to head with me,
Yeah.
and this is why I don't go head to head with people right now, and I try not to.
Oh,
Because
you don't want a headline for our
Oh, no.
Open? Okay, all right.
If you go head to head with me, I'm gonna beat you, right?
Okay,
like that.
sure.
That spirit's still in me,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna go hard.
Yeah.
But I don't because I know that,
Sure.
and it's also this thing where because I know logically that in order to be the healthiest version of myself, I cannot push my body to the
that's
ground.
good.
And so even if I want to, even if I feel like it sometimes, I'm not going to do it because
good.
I know my goal is to be the healthiest version of myself.
good.
And so I will intentionally pull back. Or if I know like before it'd be like, oh, I feel good. Let's go for PR, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I feel good. That's it. I'm good, right? And so I will say it's not completely gone out of me, but it's more of the conversation that I have in my head to be like, nope, this is not what you want. Do what you want. Yeah.
Good. That's good. I'm gonna wrap up with this kind of a advice question. We'll do a 5-3-1 and then we'll wrap up with this question. But what are 5 of like the top places that you've ever visited that you just love? And this could be like, so what are your top 5 favorite places?
Okay.
It could be like your house. But like,
Oh, I love my house.
Okay.
Actually, that's probably my
that's number
favorite
one?
place
All
in
right.
the whole entire world. Favorite place I've traveled to would be New Zealand.
okay.
Love. Also, Austria.
Oh, dang, you've been around. Okay, Austria.
Before I used to love traveling, but it's beautiful over
Your
there.
house, Austria, New Zealand. What's the other two?
I will say, well, see, I've been missing going back to Taiwan. I don't think I would ever have said this before, but Taiwan. And then
You're born there or you're born
I
here?
was actually born in Hong Kong.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And then, probably like Yosemite.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Somewhere like in the,
Right on.
yeah.
Wow. Okay. I'm gonna do this just for the hot take.
Okay.
Is Hong Kong part of China?
No, it's not. No, it's just like people saying I'm Chinese. I'm not Chinese.
Yeah.
I'm Taiwanese. That's the 3. That's 3 out of 10.
That's a hot one for the
That's the
Asians.
3 out of 10 for my how Taiwanese are you? I'm
Okay.
not Chinese.
Okay. I like that. There you go. Top 3 books you recommend.
Oh, that's too hard. Top 3 books. The Bible.
Okay.
Top 3 books. See, it depends on the person in front of me.
Top 3 that you're into reading right now.
Right now,
Yeah.
well, good books that I've read recently. We talked about this one, Blink. That was a good one.
Oh, yeah.
That really was a good one. And then, well, see, top 3 is hard, but I'll just tell you about the books I'm reading right now for the sake of time. The one I'm reading right now is The Anxious Generation. That's a good one.
It's a good book.
It is good.
Yeah.
It's everything that I believe about social media written in a book. So go read it.
Yep. That's framed how I'm gonna let my kids use or not use social media. What's your top takeaway from Blink?
From Blink, that you can train your split-second decisions and to
can.
be better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. Top number 1 meal that you swear by for health and performance or whatever. Yeah, it's like your go-to healthy meal.
I don't have one because I get bored of everything.
Oh.
Yeah, so
Okay.
for me, the top healthy meal is a different one. You need to have variety. Don't eat the same thing. So there's no one.
That's good. I like that answer. I know you're a dog mom, or you're more than a dog mom now. What's your animal situation at home?
Oh, we have 2 dogs, 2 cats, and 8 chickens. And it's
8
wonderful.
chickens. I've
Yes.
eaten your chickens' offspring, so thank you. Yeah, they're very delicious.
Good. I'm glad.
I feel like savage saying that loud. Awesome. You love to travel. Where's your next dream destination?
Next, Greece.
Greece. All right.
Yes.
And do you have a favorite like workout?
Favorite workout? Anything gymnastics. So just put all the gymnastic movements together and I'm there.
Awesome.
Any last words? No, this was fun.
Yeah.
Thanks for having
You
me.
were really natural.
Yeah.
Is there, if you could, this will be, I'll wrap with this one and this will be a heavier question, but if you had daughters in the future, what would be something that you would tell them that you would want them to know in regards to taking care of themselves?
I was gonna say, and I'll just start saying, and I might process as I say it, but I was gonna start with your health is the byproduct of your lifestyle. So it's less about pursuing the best performance, the best this, the best that, and holding on to that end goal, but it's more about loving the process and creating a life that you enjoy living. And when I say enjoy, I feel it's more of, well, you're creating this life that you know is worth living.
That's good. That's good. We're going to wrap there.
All right.
Thanks for joining us. What's your Instagram handle? That's not going to be there anymore.
Strong like sun. Follow me while you can.
There we go. Follow while you can. It's like a supreme drop. So thanks for joining us. I really enjoyed this conversation. I could do a part 2 easily. So thank you.
I'd be happy to come back.
Yeah. Stay happy. Stay healthy.